What's up, everybody? Welcome back to day 2 of Cannes here in the south of France. It's the first interview of the day, and it's a good one. Ben Levy is the CEO and founder of Sell It Great, where he helps advise people on how to become better at presentations and pitches. So a presentation coach, if you will. But we got to talk a little bit before we headed out to France, and he's got a great story about how when he learned to get good at pitching, everything changed. So Ben, thanks for coming on the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I think maybe a little bit of your origin story of, what was happening when you weren't great at pitching and what happened when you got good at it and how'd you do it?
Yeah, I was a terrible presenter. I was
Nice.
the last person that you wanted to put into the room. And at one point, my boss at the time actually came to me and said, you could be a little more excited about the work. And I thought that meant talk louder. So I presented like this for the next 6 months, and that did not help.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I realized at that point, and I was a mid-level writer at this time, what I realized was that the work, my craft at that point had reached an acceptable level, but my ability in the room had not.
Wow.
And so if I wanted to see that work succeed, then I needed to figure out how to convince the client that it was as good as the agency knew it was.
And your colleagues too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes it's just as important to be able to sell an idea in a room before the client's there.
Yeah, and I will tell people frequently that one of the most powerful things you can do to practice presenting is to get serious about those internal presentations. Because that's where we can practice and demonstrate things without having a client or a piece of business
It's
on
role
the line.
playing in a low stakes environment,
Yeah.
essentially, where there should be a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, do the flips with a net to start. Don't just off the roof without anybody to catch you.
All right, so you got some feedback from your superiors. What did you do to get better at pitching? And what I love about your approach is you were very intentional. You built an entire framework, and eventually that framework escaped the four walls of the agency, and you start other people who could relate to your wanting to get better at pitching, found the document, and then you started to become sought after as somebody to do training, and here you are now at Cannes as a speaker. So I think that's a really cool organic story, but maybe you can walk us through some of the high points.
Yeah, I think for me, it took about 5 or 6 years to get good at presenting ideas.
Wow.
And by the time I felt like I'd really matured as a speaker and a presenter, I was leading a department. I was also responsible for putting a lot of work out there myself as part of the agency. And I was now put in front of the room every single time, which I'm only one person. I had all that other stuff I had to do. There were things I needed to review. Occasionally sleeping and going to the bathroom was necessary. So purely for preservation, I went to my boss at the time and said, listen, let me steal a couple coworkers and I'll teach them what I think I know about this.
Yeah.
And that wound up working really well. So that's the point, and I wrote up a syllabus as part of the proposal, and that's what escaped the building.
Presenting is essentially a skill that can be iterated on, and it's not a natural ability.
No.
I mean, there is that idea of Malcolm Gladwell, 50,000 hours or whatever, and you talked about it, 3 to 5 years. It's not like this is Tony Robbins, session, and you go to a weekend and then you come out and you got to really practice.
Well, the thing that's funny about it is, I tell people now I can condense those 5 years into 10 weeks for you.
Wow.
Right. The difference is I had to try and fail and try and fail and try and succeed, and then try it 6 more times to make sure that success wasn't just a fluke. Whereas past that process, I can now take what I figured out the hard way and go, look, these are the things that work. Here's why they work. You're about to make the same mistake I did. Let me catch you.
Yeah, you got a framework and you can accelerate the learning into something that's much more intentional and allows you to skip steps essentially. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it makes sure that the time you're putting in is going to be maximized,
I love
and
that.
the impact is going to be maximized. But the point that you raise is a really important one, which is that there's no such thing as a natural presenter. There are people who may have a particular gift of gab, or maybe they don't feel the same imposter syndrome or the same nerves that somebody else does. But even people who have been presenting work for years, if they haven't gone through a formal course or a formal framework, you'll find that they actually have giant gaps in their game.
Interesting. Yeah.
So these things that everybody sort of thinks of, oh, well, either I'm a good speaker or I'm a bad speaker, I'm an extrovert or I'm an introvert. No, it's a learned skill.
I love
And
that.
so if you want to improve at it, you can.
That's so cool. So when did this become something that you would eventually leave agency life and become a full-time trainer around? How did that happen?
So I have always, it's one of those things where if you look backwards, you're like, oh yes, here is the exact map that leads me to where I am today. But at the time I had no idea. I've always sort of been a teacher and an educator.
Okay.
So once I was in the industry, I came up through Miami Ad School. I went back and taught there for many
nice.
years. I was always the person who was running or starting and then running the internship program at every agency I went to.
Yeah. So teaching is in
So
your DNA.
teaching was something that I really enjoy. And again, those 10,000 hours, right? Over 10, 15 years of doing that, without realizing it, I had built up a toolkit of how to teach people, how to deliver feedback and coach them in a way that doesn't hide from the hard truth, but also gives them what they need.
For people who might want to get a taste of what you offer, what are 3 things that people could do to start getting better at pitching?
The biggest thing you can do, which nobody wants to do, is watch yourself on camera.
Ooh, that's good. I like that.
Watch
Here we
yourself on camera.
I remember when I started podcasting, it was like the first few episodes I put out were absolutely like painful to watch.
Oh yeah.
And now it's like I see videos of myself every single day. But there's a very weird feeling, especially like before. I remember before iPhones and stuff when we used to
Yeah.
have home cameras and
That
stuff.
was
like,
even worse.
anytime you saw yourself on camera, you hated it. It was like your voice sounded different. It just didn't seem.
Yeah.
It didn't seem how you perceived yourself naturally whatsoever.
No, and all of that is natural. But I remember, for example, that somebody recorded me once. I didn't know this about myself, but I used to be the kind of person that would pivot in their chair, like
Yeah.
absent-mindedly in a meeting.
Yeah.
And they recorded me just once and showed it to me, and it was like, yo, I'm done. I will never do that. I've never done it since.
That's awesome.
So
yeah.
it's a really powerful tool. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that you can do.
That's really cool. I love that.
Another thing that is really helpful is to become comfortable with silence.
Yep.
We
Silence
have-
is, I've been in the sales side of things for a long time, and in high stake sales negotiations, one of the things my managers always would tell me is just, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Deliver and ask and be quiet and let them, let the prospect kind of, roll around in their head and make it uncomfortable and make them commit to words. They'll either tell you yes, no, or there are things that we need to achieve in order to get to the goal of getting this sale done. And that was something that I had to learn was you don't want to oversell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing about silence that's interesting is that the way our minds work, when we stop talking, the listener, their brain will replay the last thing they heard.
Interesting.
So there are times where people want to emphasize something and they'll say it over and over again, and it becomes almost like a weird verbal tick. A much more powerful thing to do is say it once and stop.
Wow, I love that.
Your audience will literally be saying it over again to themselves.
That's cool.
And you appear way more confident and it lands just as hard.
I love it. When did Can come knocking? You have the ultimate stage in our industry in order to get out there and express your ideas around the power of presenting. When did Can come knocking, and How's it going so far?
A few months ago,
Nice, amazing.
I was lucky enough to have. It was funny because it sounded like a spam DM. Like it was somebody that I was not a first connection with on LinkedIn. I got a message in the DM that was one line that was like, "Can has an opportunity for you. What's your email?" And that was it. And I was like, I mean, if you'd asked me for my credit card number, I would have just deleted it immediately. But let me check.
I have a bridge to sell you.
It was legitimate.
That's amazing.
So now I am here.
That's cool.
And it is every bit as hot as everyone said it is. But it's an incredible thing to be surrounded by this much work, this much passion, and also the willingness to learn.
Yeah.
I think that while Can is a celebration of work that has been done,
Yep.
it is very forward-looking.
Yeah, it's educational. There's a whole side of the building that's dedicated to learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, particularly with what I've been doing for the last 6 or 7 years, it's pretty cool to have that particular stage in the
Yeah,
Learning
it's
Center.
validating, right? I remember the first time the podcast got accepted as part of the press corps. I'm like, all right, this isn't just me talking into a tin can in the in the closet. People care enough to invite me in to be part of their thought leadership. And
I get a fancier tin can now.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right. I love it. Well, Ben, great to meet you, and congratulations on all the success. If folks at home want to connect with your thought leadership, follow along, maybe learn more about how to get into the weeds on your teaching, where would you like to send people to stay in touch or learn more?
Sellitgreat.com is home base, but I spend entirely too much time on LinkedIn. So feel free to stalk me there.
I love it. Thanks for coming on, Brady. Appreciate
having
you.
me.
Cheers.
YouTube. Finding the right audience to build a media plan requires hours of research. And optimizing campaigns is time-consuming and a bit of a guessing game. That's why we built technology to do it for you. Strike Social.